Welcome to a new edition of Inside Grand Prix, focusing today on the Hungarian Grand Prix. First then for a look at the host country. It nestles romantically in dreamlike fashion along the Danube. Hungary, the land of the Magyars, as the 10 million or so Hungarians like to be known. Endless fields and vibrant tradition typify the rural areas. The people here frequently hold lively festivals to celebrate their culture, while the hustle of business prevails in the picturesque towns. For many tourists, Hungary remains uncharted waters. However, those who've made the trip once generally recall it fondly, each with their own unique memories.
Hungary is my first victory in Formula One, and a circuit that I like so much, and after that victory even more. But you know, it's a good weekend for me, always in Budapest, because I like the city, the track, and the paddock, and the atmosphere in Hungary.
For most people, Hungary means Budapest, the Paris of the East, a charming mix of coffee shop culture and modern global city. UNESCO declared the Danube panorama from Gellert Hill in the Buda part of the city a World Heritage Site, while magnificent Renaissance and Neo-Gothic buildings recall a grand past. For decades, Hungary was the gateway to the East, and Budapest the easternmost city of the West. People from neighboring countries have always enjoyed making the short trip to visit Hungary's Pearl of the Danube. Yes, I know Budapest well. It's not that far from my own country, Austria. Lots of Austrians go there. At the moment, it's also, in effect, my home Grand Prix. In the summer, it's a cauldron of heat. In fact, Budapest is one of the hottest circuits there is. It's extremely strenuous. The straight's very short, and there are lots of fairly fast corners, so you're kept very busy. The track is a bit slippery, which means you can never relax. And the race distance is very long, nearly 1 hour 50. It really is one of the toughest circuits, physically and mentally. Less so for the cars, but the drivers always suffer at this Grand Prix because it's so unbearably hot. And the heat in Hungary comes not only from above, but also from typically spicy food and fiery wine. Tokaj wine, a fine drop, and, according to legend, created by the gods. The Magyars like it hot, too hot for many outsiders. A chance to cool down is provided by cold water, of which there's plenty in the Hungarian Sea, Lake Balaton. Hot water is also in abundance. Ever since imperial times, Hungary's many spas have been the center of an affluent bathing culture. On Sunday at the Grand Prix, there may be a lack of water, but certainly not of heat. And the horse and horsepower-loving spectators will undoubtedly turn it up a bit further. Coming up in Safety Focus, tried and tested. But first, a virtual lap of Hungary's Grand Prix circuit. Welcome to the Hungarian Grand Prix, to the battle in the Budapest heat. Following fast races at Magny-Cours and Hockenheim, the Hungaroring is almost the slowest circuit on the race calendar, but one of the toughest nuts for the engineers.
Hungary presents a bit of a problem because normally for the tyre degradation and drop-off that you have around there, you would normally want to do a 3-stop race because it's quite hard on tyres.
The heavy wear is caused by low levels of grip and a slippery surface. Soft tyres help, but also wear out quicker. However, a 3-stop strategy is not so simple, as the Hungaroring is also very testing for calculating quantities of fuel, especially as 14 tight corners and only one long straight make overtaking almost impossible.
When you can't overtake on a track like Monaco and Hungary, for example, you tend to run more fuel because if you get someone that is in front of you that is slower, but they have more fuel on board, they can beat you because they just sit and wait in front of you until the pit stop, come in and out for one quick lap, and then that's it, you can't get past them. So Hungary is always very difficult to determine what strategy you're doing because it has high degradation, but no, very hard to overtake.
With not a moment's respite, one chicane after another follow on the second third of the circuit. Extreme centrifugal forces mercilessly throw the driver from side to side, like in a slalom. Always right on the edge, they speed through the corners and past the fans. Non-stop action for them, but for the drivers, an effort that takes them to the limit. Hungary is certainly a very tough race, as you've not got any straights on the circuit where you can relax. You go from one corner to the next, jumping all over the place, so it's really a tough race, especially with the heat too. It gets up to 60 or 70 degrees in the car with your overalls on and this fireproof underwear underneath and all the other bits and pieces. It's certainly very strenuous. Tight corners, murderous heat. And that's not all. While the permanent wind brings a welcome cooling effect to the stands, it gives the track a treacherous layer of dust. Even a tiny lack of attention or deviation from the perfect line means time lost, if you're lucky. If not, you end up in the gravel. The 4.384 kilometers of the Hungaroring, a real test of strength. It's less horsepower and top speed that'll decide the race this time. Tires, strategy, and, above all, driving skill and physical fitness that will pave the way to victory. Next in Legends, Formula 1 30 years ago. First, personal, Kimi Räikkönen. Extremely fast, extremely cool. The Iceman, Kimi Räikkönen, is one of the very top drivers in Formula 1. Hardly any other driver races as precisely or so permanently at the limit. Hardly any other makes so few mistakes. He's got everything that's needed to win the driver's title, and that's precisely what he aims to do.
We hope to try to win the championship this year, win as many races as we can, and be as strong in the team as we can.
Kimi Räikkönen, an exceptional talent on the track. And, as a Finn, naturally also at home on the snow, a real Iceman. He left Finland many years ago, and since his arrival in Formula 1 in 2001, has lived in Switzerland. On the shores of Lake Zurich, he's found what he needs in his private life.
Many drivers are living in Monaco, and for me this is much better. It's more like in Finland, there's more space, and I think there's more things to do here than is in Monaco.
Here with his fitness coach, Jerry Convey, who also used to prepare Mika Häkkinen in his Formula 1 days, he's able to train in total seclusion, preparing himself for the next race, both mentally and physically, in the roaming countryside. His rivals are very different from those on the track.
Mountain biking is good here. The air is very fresh, and it's a good place to go. It's up hills, down hills, and in the forest is many different areas where you can do mountain biking, and it's good.
They almost look like father and son, or older and younger brother. As the flying Finn Mika Häkkinen departed, the Iceman arrived, and he still follows how Big Brother is doing in the DTM.
I think so, he's doing well. I think so. In the last race, what I have seen, he had some difficulties and some bad luck, but he won one race in Spa, and I was really thinking that it will take a little while for him to get used to it, but I think so he's doing better than I was even expecting earlier. And I think so it's good for him, and I think so he's enjoying it a lot, so it's good for Mercedes also to have me kind of car.
Just as Mika Häkkinen did, Räikkönen also hopes to win the driver's title with McLaren Mercedes. There are suggestions, however, that he'll be leaving the Silver Arrows next year and heading for Ferrari to become the successor to Michael Schumacher.
Just the rumors, and they always been, since I came to Sauber, they started to write that I'm gonna go to Ferrari, and every year basically they have had some sorts of rumors about it, so it's nothing new. People just try to make it bigger thing always, so it's just rumors.
Räikkönen had completed just 17 Formula 1 races with his first team Sauber before McLaren Mercedes recruited him to carry on this successful Finnish era. Today he has Sauber to thank for his home in Switzerland. McLaren Mercedes and Ron Dennis for his nickname. Coming up in Safety Focus, the Shadow Team. And now in Techno, G-Forces. Feel the G-Force. Doing aerobatics in the Formula One of the skies.
G-force is much like driving your car around a tight corner where you feel yourself pushed in the seat. When we're flying in the Red Bull Air Race, we're pulling up to 10 Gs as we make the pull-up. This is the weight of 10 times your body being pushed down on top of you.
Forces that even experienced aerobatic pilots can only withstand for a while. The blood is forced out of your head, your vision clouds over, and you can even black out. It's not a lot better for drivers in Formula One. They too are pushed and pulled around corners at forces of up to 5 G. So for them too, it's 5 times body weight. You feel the G-force most when you brake because your whole body initially tries to push down. You sometimes have to prop yourself up to avoid disappearing completely down below. Your head always tips forward. I can still remember on my first drive years ago, in 2002 I think, after a few laps I braked and my head fell forward between my legs. I couldn't see where I was going. You simply can't hold your head up anymore because the G-force is too strong. A force that you can experience for yourself if you visit any amusement park. Modern roller coasters, for example, exert a cool 5G, and it could be even more. Maximum allowed, however, is 6G, and then only briefly. This is a kick that Formula One drivers experience several times a lap. They therefore do hard physical training to prepare and protect themselves. Also used in Formula One since 2003, the hands system. It protects drivers from extreme forces of acceleration as in an accident. As a driver, you're completely unaware of the hand system. You know that it's there because you've always got to put it on, but otherwise you don't really notice it at all. All you do notice is that if you have an accident, it helps because it stops your head flying forward. The head and neck support system reduces the force exerted on the head and neck. Especially in a head-on crash, the driver's helmet is shot forward. This can overextend the spinal column and cause the driver's head to hit the steering wheel. With the hand system, this doesn't happen. A carbon fiber neck protector is secured with shoulder straps to the vehicle's safety belts and fixed with further straps to the helmet. This stability reduces the dangerous G-force and holds back the driver's head. There was a situation last year in the GP2 series when I went head-on into a wall. I could have hit my head really hard against the steering wheel, but it held me back. It did hurt slightly under here because the helmet straps cut into my chin a bit, but it was a lot better than hitting the steering wheel. The hands system in Formula One, protecting drivers in case of accidents. Only one thing helps against G-force: good training and fitness. Otherwise, fast lap times are just a vain hope. And if you go on a roller coaster again sometime, you'll feel, if only briefly, the sort of force that Formula One drivers have to withstand. So you can imagine how fit you've got to be to keep an eye on your rivals and stay on top of changing gear. G-force is torture, but it also produces a bit of fun. Time for a short break, but we'll be right back with news and facts. And Safety Focus, testing for success. Don't go away.
Allianz, Insurance and Asset Management. Allianz, Insurance and Asset Management.
Welcome back to Inside Grand Prix. Coming up, news and facts. But first, in Safety Focus, test it. The world of Formula One keeps on turning, as far as it will go. Nothing's left to chance. The stakes are too high. It's a matter of money, prestige, victory, and of course, safety. Everything's minutely inspected and constantly scrutinized, test after test, to achieve top performance.
It's a given in Formula One that there's a hell of a lot of work, and it's right the way through the year. It doesn't stop once the season does.
Each race brings to light new findings and new problems. In parallel to the race crew, every team also runs its own test crew. Test drivers and test mechanics rattle up over 20,000 kilometers a season. Away from the crowds, up to 60 people battle here against the clock.
It's all about how long something takes to get into manufacture. But for instance, we have broken something in a gearbox on a Sunday, and on the following Tuesday, when we have been testing, we've had the new part in the gearbox. So it will be made Sunday night, Monday, flown out to us in Spain, for instance, and will be fitted to the gearbox ready for Tuesday morning.
The second key part in the continual upgrade process, the team's base back home. As well as making individual components, this is where the information from race and test teams is brought together. CFD engineers recalculate wind flow patterns on the computer, simulating race conditions.
We would need that information to come back very quickly. We'd then go and look at what our predictions are saying from the CFD about the flows for a given range of brake ducts. We'd look at wind tunnel data to see how the information we get from the wind tunnel compares with what we're seeing at the track. We'll then try and interpret the data we're getting, try to understand where the problems may be, and then address them with a revised design for subsequent races. This also happens aerodynamically. We may find that we need to run a different efficiency level for different tracks. We may find that the car requires higher top speed for some tracks than we envisage, and therefore we'll adapt the aerodynamics appropriately.
Reassurance then comes on the track, as mere theory is subjected to hard grinding reality. Once again, the focus of the tests, the tyres. Only if they are actually able to relay improvements onto the track have the tests achieved the desired result. Constant quality control and fault analysis for improved performance and safety. The same goes for production cars. Manufacturers systematically examine all weak spots and susceptible components. Using scanning electron microscopes, for instance, with up to 10,000 times magnification.
In
the case of this broken crankshaft, you can't tell from the broken surface's outer appearance why the crankshaft ultimately broke. Here in the Allianz Center for Technology, we therefore examine the brake in greater detail. By looking at it under high magnification, we can then accurately decide whether the break occurred because the shaft was put under too much physical stress, due to a flawed design, or because the wrong materials were chosen when it was made. Step by step, race by race, the search for the perfect car. Testing in Formula One is anything but a casual test drive. For Motors Sports Elite, constant reanalysis and rapid advances are the keys to success. In Legends, a new episode, Formula One 30 years ago. Just seconds to go. 470 horsepower at their backs. Tension, adrenaline, excitement, ready to give their all for 300 kilometers. Pensive final moments.
Well, in Grand Prix racing today, it's flat out right from the first lap. You know, it's there's no let up. I'm going to go as hard as I can, naturally.
So the tactics will be to drive as quick as possible because, unfortunately, the car doesn't seem to be all that quick as the opposition.
That year in Sweden, Niki Lauda had to battle with setup problems. His Ferrari 312 T2 and the Swedish asphalt simply didn't want to work together in their usual way. By contrast, the Tyrrell design with 4 front wheels appeared to be made for the slightly porous surface. Jody Scheckter and Patrick Depailler were expecting to have the edge, especially over the last third of the race. Initially, however, it was Mario Andretti who was able to dream of his first win of the season. The American controlled the race in his Lotus, recorded fastest lap after fastest lap, and had the two Tyrrells firmly in check. Then, on lap 45, the American supremacy was over. The Ford Cosworth engine first decided to work on just 6 cylinders and then to withdraw its labour early. The path was thus clear for the first victory by a car with 6 wheels. Niki Lauda in his Ferrari had a relatively quiet afternoon. He could do nothing to counter the two Tyrrells, but had an ample lead over fourth-place Jacques Lafitte in the Ligier. Jody Scheckter won his first race of the season, something that surprised even him. How else could you explain the fact that instead of driving straight to the winner's podium, he first dropped by on the team for a surprise visit? Tyrrell then with a 1-2 in Sweden, Ferrari in 3rd and 6th, a creditable 4th place for Ligier, and a somewhat disappointing 2 points for McLaren. Jody Scheckter and Patrick Depailler had proved that you could have success even with an unusual vehicle design. In Anderstorp, certainly, the 4 small wheels made the difference between winning and being an also-ran. Time for our news and facts. The route into Formula One is always long and difficult, a route full of hurdles that he has now overcome. Fabrizio Del Monte, 25 years old, Italian, and test driver for the Midland Formula One team. About to get his first race this weekend in the Hungarian Grand Prix.
It's fantastic to drive an F1. Is so much speed. It's a technical car. It's perfect. It's been a dream.
Whether the Italian will move up to permanent Friday driver in the Midland team remains to be seen. However, his dulcet-sounding name is certainly worth noting. Fabrizio Del Monte. While all energy drinks may give you wings, one's now flying on these over Budapest. Ahead of the Hungarian race weekend, Motorsport's elite are to meet with the elite of the skies. Red Bull Racing meets Red Bull Air Race. Peter Bezenye, Hungarian, seen as the inventor of the air race, a fast and daring aerobatics championship. For the first time ever, 2 Formula One cars are to race through Budapest in competition with a plane. It sounds great, and it's sure to be exciting. Formula One meets air race. What a setting for a record attempt. Bonneville International Speedway in Utah, USA. With the South African Alan van der Merwe at the wheel, the Honda team broke through 400 kilometers an hour over a measured mile, faster than any Formula One car had ever gone before. But it was not quite enough to get the record for this type of vehicle. For that, they would have to have done 400 in both directions. Nevertheless, the average speed was a lightning 393.613 kilometers an hour. So congratulations all round. Now to where the cars have to brake hardest on the demanding Hungaroring. The Brembo engineers know it well. Right after the main straight, the brakes are really put to the test. Approaching this corner, speeds drop from 305 to 85. The drivers lose 220 kilometers an hour in just 2.5 seconds and are subjected to forces of 4.5 G. That was Inside Grand Prix. See you again for the next Grand Prix in Turkey.